plans on the horizon. And thank you so much for making us a part of your plan. We're going to also talk some NBA and college hoops. Our good guy, Rajim Seabrook, he is sort of in between scheduling right now, in between sports seasons. And so he's going to be sort of sporadic in terms of the consistency of the days he comes, but he'll still be joining us approximately once a week. Usually you can catch him on Fridays, but he's going to be here today. He said he's going to come by about 15, 20 minutes. So excited to have Rajim come by, talk all the way around the wide world of sports. And we're going to talk some NBA, some NFL, some college basketball. We'll hear from Coach Germer. Also exciting at the top of the hour, Jason Brown and Gustav Thielgaard. They will join us from the Grizz men's tennis team. Grizz undefeated in Big Sky Conference play so far this year, 11-1 overall. So they're a top 60 team right now, which is impressive. They rank like the top 75 teams in men's and women's tennis. So it's a little bit different than the traditional top 25 polls that maybe you're used to in men's and women's college basketball and college football and all that stuff. So, but still worth noting and also fun to have actually both men's tennis teams here at the collegiate level in the state of Montana ranked among the nation's best. So it's always uphill sledding for those non-revenue sports in these cold weather markets, but very much excited to have Coach Brown and also the recently anointed Big Sky Conference Men's Tennis Player of the Week in Gustav Thielgaard here in studio. That'll happen about 5 o'clock, and then we'll give you some more thoughts on Coach K and the Final Four and the dichotomy between the NBA and college basketball and all that stuff. Nuanez Now is broadcasting to you live from the Northwest Motorsports Studio. We have just a couple days here left of March. But you can keep marching into savings with Northwest Motorsports Markdown Madness. They're providing special APRs all month long. Just a couple days left to get those special APRs. You can get a truckload of savings on the greatest selection of off-road trucks, lifted trucks, diesel trucks, and SUVs at Northwest Motorsport. You can visit nwmsrocks.com to check out their huge inventory, or you can visit them here in Missoula at the corner of Stevens and Mount. Rajim Seabrook, as I said, was on his way. He'll be here in just a little while. If you want to stream the show or listen to it on your various mobile platforms, whether it's your cell phone or your tablet or your laptop computer, you can always do that by heading on over to 1029ESPN.com. Click on the Listen Live tab, and you'll find the stream. And if you want to be a part of the show, remember this number, because we also have a Wing It Wednesday. Wing It Wednesday presented by the Desperado Sports Tavern and Grill. So about 40 minutes from now, we'll be giving you an opportunity to win a basket of wings from the Despo, the best wings in the city of Missoula. So remember this number, 406-888-1029. Not right now, but a little later on. First of all, happy to have my guy Jeff Safford in the back. You probably most famously know him as the voice of the Missoula Paddleheads. He's also been doing a lot of great work for us with Grizz hockey as well as Grizz lacrosse. He's producing the show today, though, because Andrew Houghton, our daily producer, he is down at the University of Montana. He's going to take in the full spring football practice. They're also having their media procedures right now where the coaches go before practice. That's why I was coming in a little hot, because I talked to Bobby Houck and Chad Germer today before practice. And then post-practice is when the players do interviews. And today is a day that we get to catch up with the quarterbacks. So Andrew will have some insight on all things Grizz spring football, but also some sound and some reactions from a couple of the returning quarterbacks for the University of Montana. I think they're going to have Lucas Johnson and Chris Brown do some interviews. Lucas Johnson, the transfer in from SDSU, San Diego State, and Chris Brown, the now sophomore Bozeman product, who was a starter for about a month of the season last year for the Grizz. One other programming note, we will be in Bozeman on Friday. More than anything I need to, well, first of all, we're kind of ramping up our spring football coverage. The Grizz have their spring scrimmage in a couple weeks, a couple Saturdays from now. Not this Saturday, but next Saturday. And the Bobcats, they have their spring scrimmage on April 26th. So I'm going to go get some impressions of that, go watch it. Also, honored, great pleasure of mine to be invited to talk to the Montana State team just about some media procedures and advice on dealing with the media, coming on the radio, going on TV, all that stuff. And they have a little Q&A for me. So that'd be fun. More than anything, I just need to get my freaking car. It blew up on the way back from Boise, after the Big Sky tournament. And then I had a whirlwind week. I was on a plane going to San Diego just a couple days later. The car is in Butte. I haven't had a chance to deal with it. So I'm decided to make a trip out of it. So we'll head on over there, and we'll be coming to you live from the Montana State Tennis Center this upcoming Friday. So that'll be fun as well. They're playing Northern Arizona in what is actually a pivotal Big Sky Conference matchup. I see Rajim Seabrook here, so he'll be in the studio just a minute. I think he's just finishing up a phone call here. But one piece of news worth analyzing, which will probably spur on a little bit of a conversation, is that the fifth player from the University of Montana men's basketball team into the transfer portal, and arguably the most impactful one thus far, Robbie Beasley, a standout sophomore for the Grizz, who averaged about 12 points per game last year. He into the portal. So he averaged, he was like 11.8 points per game, but he was a starter from stem to stern this last year. And I don't know. I ran on a rant on this last week, but I think it's worth stating as well. Again, I think there's this spin that the transfer portal is evil and the transfer portal is ruining everything. And I think that there's a shred of truth to that sentiment. But I think there's so much more nuance and so many more details that go into the conversation. So while you might be thinking, well, why did the Grizz want to lose a guy who averaged 12 points per game as a sophomore, a guy who was a three-star recruit out of high school, a guy who had an offer from Nevada and chose Montana over it, a Mountain West caliber talent coming out of high school? Well, two things. One, more good players, if they don't fit together, don't make a great team. And it's not a matter of who, but it's a matter of their position. If you have Robbie Beasley and Brandon Whitney, those guys don't really complement each other. So I'm not saying you have to pick one or the other, but I think that one of the biggest flaws of the Grizz men's basketball team this last year was they had a whole bunch of one kind of player. They had a whole bunch of like combo guards, and they had a whole bunch of athletic but not burly power forwards. They had no centers. They had no real wings. Lionel Martin was like the only true wing on the team. And then they had a bunch of combo guards who are not really points, but they're not really two guards. They're all kind of undersized. They can guard a little bit, create their shot a little bit, but they don't really create for other people. Cam Parker kind of did that, but he was so unorthodox, but then he also became sort of a scorer down the stretch. It's just it's an interesting situation. And so I know that there's a lot of narrative out there about how losing a guy like Robbie Beasley is a big loss for the Grizz, but I don't necessarily buy it. I think that the other part of the transfer portal dynamic is that so often people think that the only thing that's happening is student athletes choosing to leave their programs or deciding they want to go chase something that's the grass is greener on the other side. There's so many more elements to it. So often, guys are entering the portal because the coaches are telling them to. Guys are entering the portal because they know they're going to get out recruited. And that's the whole other dynamic of this. The coaches can sit here and bemoan the state of society and talk about this whole thing. You know, Robbie Beasley's going to go transfer somewhere else, and we developed him for 2 years, and this is hard on our program. On the flip side, though, the coaches now have the opportunity to go replace Robbie Beasley with someone as good or better than him. Now, how does that guy fit in the program? I don't know. How does that talent work? I don't know. But you saw Weber State do this between last year and this year. They brought in a ton of talent. They had a hard time making it mesh when they hit the skids down the stretch of the regular season in the Big Sky. They had a hard time reeling it in, but then they drilled the Grizz in the tournament, and they gave the Cats, the eventual tournament champion, everything they could handle, and they had a couple of the best players in the league, including Kobe McEwen, who was a transfer from Marquette by way of Utah State, a guy who was an all-league player in both the Mountain West and the Big East. So the coaches can sit there and say, man, this is just ruining the sport. But on the other hand, the coaches are perpetuating and accentuating it. And more than anything, rather than saying one's good, one's not good, whatever, it just is what it is. First of all, it's kids taking opportunities. If you give kids opportunities, oftentimes they're going to take opportunities. And there's also the dynamic where there's definitely closed-door meetings. I'm not saying this is specifically happening at the University of Montana, but there is certainly closed-door meetings among teams where coaches are telling guys, hey, you should explore your opportunities because we're going to out-recruit you. And there's a chance we're going to bring in a transfer who's better than you, so you should go see what you got. Nuanez now, ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. My main guy, Rajim Seabrook, in studio. What's up, man?
I'm here, baby. It's Wednesday. It's Monday of the midweek, a little hump day. And I'm here.
How's your day?
You know, I'm here. I can't brag, won't complain. Boy starts lacrosse this week, and it's got some open gym basketball tonight, and played indoor football. So I'm happy to go see him right after the show, and my little girl. And life's good, man. Life's good.
I need to get a new run. Where's pickup hoops happening in Missoula?
Buddy, we should talk off air.
Yeah, let's do that.
I have some ideas.
All right, good.
I want to build something with you, and I have some other people. We need to bring basketball back to the city. We need to bring,
sure, man. There needs to be some
old
runs,
school,
man.
blacktop, like barbecue in the park. Like, let's get hoops. And
for sure.
Lack of privatized people paying money to go inside gyms. Come and cut your teeth, skin and knee, and play some old school hoops outside.
Let's go.
We'll talk about that here in a second.
There is such a great dynamic to that, though, right? I mean, I think that we debate like all the different benefits of sport all the time. And I think one of the things that's kind of been lost in hoops is, in its essence, I guess what I'm saying is I think one of the things that has been sort of the demise of hoops among just the public has been how super organized it is, like you're talking about.
Totally. I think that...
But like in its essence, it should just be show up to the park with your ball, and then all of a sudden you got a whole bunch of new friends.
And that's what I'm not seeing. And I coach, and I'm in and around town. I remember as a youngster going to the park.
That's right.
Me and the boys.
For sure.
Sometimes you bought a lunch. You would go, and you wouldn't leave the park until the sun went down.
For sure.
And you would just ball out and have a good time. And now everything's private, and I got to travel, and I got to go to Utah to see competition against guys I'll never play. And it just comes to a point where, like, we're all paying taxes for these beautiful municipalities that are pretty empty across our city. And, we'll talk off the air. But meanwhile, back at the Hall of Justice, yeah, man, we need some blacktop series here. Bottom line, we need some hoops. My son's going to an open gym tonight because I want him to just play basketball where it isn't organized, it isn't officiated, it isn't so starchy. Like, go out and learn how to play ball and not get bailed out by refs or coaches.
It's so true, man. Well, and that's the other thing that makes basketball such a unique sport is sort of the art of the beautiful game. When it doesn't have structure, you can still find yourself in a run with a bunch of guys you never played with, and you can play beautiful basketball.
Absolutely.
Or lack thereof, too. You can also have the ball hawk ball stopper, which is going to drive everybody crazy.
Oh, no, those are my favorite. The KDs of the world, the Carmelo Anthonys, the black hole, the ball go in, never come back out.
I remember. And it's also just like such a good way to make friends. Like, I remember when I first moved to Bozeman, my mom was like, well, how are you going to make new friends? I was like, I'm going to go get a membership at the gym and just go to noon ball every day until I make a bunch of friends, and then I probably 3 of my best friends in the whole world. I met them at noon ball.
That's how I met Atu Molden.
Right, there you go.
My dude.
Yeah, we loved having Atu on.
That
this
was
fall.
So much fun.
He came on a couple different times, and what a hilarious guy, man. It was always good to see him.
Oh, boy.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hope you're having an outstanding week. Rajim Seabrook in studio. He's usually here on Fridays, but here now on Wednesdays. It's all in flux, but we're into the looser part of the schedule. So we can always kind of just, let it roll. Another tease for later on in the week, Alex Eshelman from SWX Montana Television. She usually joins us on Wednesdays, but she's going to join us next week because we had a little scheduling overlap, and, she's got her full-time job, killing it for you, getting the stories out of Bozeman. Let's dive into a couple different continued conversations. A continued conversation that you and I had last week.
What's up?
And then also a conversation I had yesterday that I want your perspective on.
Always.
This is Nuanez now, ESPN Radio. Last week we talked all about, and this is, by the way, we're going to do this as our all betting all the time. That's what we're going to call it for the summer, so it doesn't have a specific sport. But it's presented by Sportsbet Montana. So go get your futures bets in for the Masters golf tournament next weekend. Golf, one of the most fun things to gamble on. You can pick 10 different winners, and if one of them hits, you're going to make the money that you bet on the other 10 guys, too. So it's a fun one to do. Also, the NBA playoffs is coming up, so go get your bets in for that. I love those future bets for all the big sporting events. But we talked about the dynamic of the Jacksonville Jaguars giving Christian Kirk the absolutely outrageous $80+ million contract that they did, and how that was then a domino effect to Davante Adams getting traded from Green Bay and Tyreek Hill getting traded from Kansas City. But we didn't actually talk about those trades. Davante Adams, one of the best players in the league. What do you think of his fit in Las Vegas?
Buddy, you know what I said last week to this. To me, that's the I was going to say something else, but I don't want to get fined by the FCC. Peanut butter just meant jelly. What a lot of people don't understand is that this is the perfect fit. These Mr. Carr and Mr. Adams, who went to college together at Fresno State, for those who don't know, set a lot of records at the FCS level.
That's right. You did mention the Fresno State tie. That's a really good one.
You like that? You like that? Pulling it out of the hat, ace in the hole? There's so much chemistry between those two, and the maturity in both of their games and athleticism and their physical prowess, I think they can reignite a fire. Then when I look at what they have on paper across the board offensively, that's a hard team to double team anyone or to load a box against. They have one of the best tight ends in the league. Davante Adams, top 5, if not top 3 receiver in the league. And then Carr can sling it if given the time and ample opportunity. I think this is a marriage. The loser of this,
A-Rod.
Becky's boy.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers for sure.
He ain't my boy.
So here's the other question. Because I think Derek Carr is a sort of a litmus test of a player. But is he good?
I think he's.
I think he's good too.
I think physically he has all the tools. Let's talk about the dysfunction of the organization known as the Raiders. They're the Washington Football Club of now the Southwest.
Yeah. They're getting better though.
They have gotten better.
For all of his downfalls and all of his terrible things that were leaked in the emails and stuff, John Gruden actually is a very good player personnel guy. He's a very good coach. I do think they made some progress during his time there, just from a football perspective.
Absolutely. The culture of what was there, the remnants of the old Al Davis regime.
For sure.
He was actually able to kind of like water that down. What I feel for Carr is they didn't put the pieces around him to make him better than what he is. He kind of reminds me of Matt Stafford. Very talented, puts up good numbers consistently, but just doesn't have enough pieces around him to get over the hump. Coupled with the fact that he plays in the AFC West, the toughest conference in football. Like, you're going against the best of the best of the best of the best 8 times a year or 6 times a year. So I like the word litmus test. He also hasn't had consistent coaching for a very long time, or outside of that, consistent managerial progression around him from an administrative perspective.
One of the most undertold storylines in the NFL too is when you have an elite offensive line, then you sign several of those elite offensive linemen to big contracts, and then those guys get hurt. We saw it happen to the Cowboys a few years ago. We saw it happen to the Raiders. I mean, people forget that the Raiders went 12-4 the year before Jack Del Rio got fired.
For real.
And they had, according to all the metrics, they had one of the 3 best offensive lines in the league. Well, then they signed a couple of those guys to big contracts. Then they got hurt. And then they were terrible.
Decimated.
Because you can't fill in the spots because the dude who's backing up the $60 million right tackle is going to be a rookie. He's just going to not be good.
Or a journeyman.
Exactly. And so then they had a bad year, and then they fired Jack Del Rio. That's the NFL in a nutshell. But I've always thought that Derek Carr I think he is the barometer. I think if you are better than Derek Carr, you are good enough to be on a potential Super Bowl contending or at least conference contending team.
Right.
If you're not quite as good as Derek Carr, I don't think you are.
No, I think Derek Carr is one of the better quarterbacks in the league. Just hasn't always had the best arsenal or organization put around him.
Okay, and then let's talk about the other one. What do you think about Tyreek Hill to Miami? Because I actually think this is really interesting.
I think Miami just got exponentially better.
For sure.
I think Kansas City loses and Patrick Mahomes just got worse.
Right.
Who this also impacts the most, believe it or not, Travis Kelce.
For sure.
Right? So all of a sudden, when you have a Tyreek Hill, a Patrick Mahomes, and a Travis Kelce on a team, you are not doubling down on anyone because you got to pick your poison right now.
For sure. And the option routes that they both run, they run each other open so much too.
Totally. Right now, there's no one on that roster that's going to open up those pathways for either Mahomes or Travis Kelce. What I fear for Patrick Mahomes is he goes the route of Lamar Jackson. Now he has to do more because he has less around him, which will then start mounting and leading to injuries. And not having Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce in that security blanket mode, we will see a different Chiefs team.
Nuanez now ESPN Radio as well as SWX Montana Television. Colter Nuanez coming to you from the Northwest Motorsports Studio. Raheem Seabrook riding with me here on a Wednesday.
Whoop, whoop.
My final thought here on this NFL, and maybe we'll revisit some NFL in hour number 2, but
yes, please.
The what have you done for me lately is so funny, and the lack of grace that we give people because of circumstances that are confirmed is also so interesting to me. The moment that Tua Tagovailoa came off the bench in the national championship game and took the world by storm was a moment in which most people that know football and watched that were like, that's the next dude.
That's the dude.
That's the next dude.
Absolutely.
And then he had one of the great Heisman campaigns we've seen in the last 20 years. And then he has this horrific, dare I say, Bo Jackson-esque injury where he rips the hip all the way out. I mean, horrible. And then the guy gets drafted by Miami, who's a dysfunctional franchise.
Which is just as horrible as the injury.
Dysfunctional franchise. But then they get him a good coach in Brian Flores. But then he's still in and out because he's hurt. Then they start dabbling in the Deshaun Watson drama, and all of a sudden there's just distractions galore. The guy's not quite healthy yet. I think, though, the fact that so many people have decided to sell on Tua Tagovailoa is crazy. I think that he could, if he could get healthy and have some consistency in the organization, I think he could be really, really good. What could make him better than the fastest receiver in the league?
Buddy, Tua's going to look like a star because of Tyreek Hill. Especially when you're playing the Jets twice.
right, exactly, right.
You play a pretty soft schedule coming up this year.
For sure.
Like, it's a great thing, and the expectations that are not on that team will be exceeded early.
Yeah.
Which puts him into a different echelon.
Well, the other part of the narrative with Tyreek Hill, too, is that no one's talking about it. Everybody's talking about, man, I can't believe that the Chiefs broke up one of the great offensive trios of all time. People are also talking about...
Can't afford it.
That's part of it. People are also talking about, though, how Tyreek's going to fit in Miami. The other thing, though, is that the Chiefs might actually look super smart in 5 years when this is all said and done. Because Tyreek Hill is such a great player. But is he ever going to be any better than he already has been?
Great question.
You know what I mean? Like,
no, I feel you on that.
How do you really go? I mean, he's had 1,200-plus yards 3 out of the last 4 years, discluding the year he was hurt. I mean, the dude's caught 56 touchdowns his first 5 seasons in the NFL.
It's ridiculous.
But when you're the fastest guy in the league, you can't do anything but get slower. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, the funny thing is his slower is still going to be faster than most.
No, for sure. I just don't know if you can possibly expect somebody of his size to maintain any longer than he already has. I mean, he can still have a couple good seasons, but I'm saying this is all said and done, and the Chiefs use all those draft picks they got for him, they could be just fine.
When the dust settles, things will be okay. My thing with Miami and a personality like Tyreek Hill coming out of Kansas City, how does he handle that? A lot of times, like, athletes will go to new cities and it's not the right fit. And with
that's very interesting.
His dynamic personality, and because of what he's done, Super Bowl winning,
for sure. Like, and he's had his off the field stuff.
Absolutely.
He went to a junior college. He's from Orlando, so that's automatic new distractions.
Bingo. I was going to come back to that. He's from there.
Exactly. Like, you're going to have 500 cousins you didn't know you had.
And 600 friends you don't even want.
Exactly. And, then he had his struggles academically coming out of high school.
True.
Went to Oklahoma State, had his struggles there, wasn't able to really hack it, had to go to West Alabama. But then, went and ran a casual 4.2 at the combine.
Yeah.
and got drafted. But it's just going to be interesting. I think that he's such a brand name player. He's such a fantasy football like player.
Totally.
And I do think he's going to help Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami offense the first couple years here.
Huge.
But when the whole deal is all sort of settled in, I think that
Kansas City,
they could be out on the other side.
The Kansas City GM wins in this one because of what will come down. There's the immediate impact, then there's long term, and what Kansas City procured. We'll see. We'll see. I don't want to talk too much. That's my son's team, and I know he's listening, so I don't want to get elbowed when I see him here a little bit after 6.
Nuanez now ESPN Radio as well as SWX Montana Television. We're going to talk some more. I had my 5 biggest NBA storylines that I did yesterday. I want Rajiem's take on that, but we're going to save that for a little while. But next, I was hustling back and forth to Grizz spring football practice earlier today.
Yeah.
Caught up with Chad Germer, the offensive line coach. So we'll talk some offensive line and hear just a couple minutes. I mean, he's in the middle of practice, so he can only take about 5 minutes to chat. We'll hear from Coach Germer as well. Keep it right here. Nuanez now, ESPN Radio.
Open your new Stockman Bank account anytime, anywhere with online account opening. Now, you can open an account in minutes on your laptop, tablet, or mobile phone. It's convenient, simple, and secure. Open your new account today at stockmanbank.com. Then, add our online and mobile banking services so you can manage your money when, where, and how you want. Stockman Bank, Montana's brand of banking. Member FDIC.
Have you ever worried if you're up to snuff in the bedroom? Are you looking to skip the waiting lines and the admission at the pharmacy? Do you want effective male enhancement delivered right to your door? Palmer's Drug of Missoula has you covered. All you need is a prescription from a doctor and a home address for Palmer's Drug to ship to. If you want to improve your love life and get right in the bedroom, all while keeping it discreet, look into home delivery through Palmer's Drug. Palmer's Drug, your trusted local pharmacy in Missoula.
It's time to gear up for spring sports and adventure at Bob Ward's. Save now on new gear for soccer, baseball, softball, tennis, and more. Hit the links with new golf apparel, clubs, bags, and more. Everything you need for any spring sports is in stock now, with more arriving daily at Bob Ward's. Grab the latest styles from top brands in the athletic department. Get technology and style in the newest footwear from Brooks, Hoka, Under Armour, and all your favorite brands. Even our camping and water sports department are stocked with new gear. Gear up at Bob Ward's. Sports and outdoors, Montana style.
It's game day. Get ready for action. Fast breaks, slam dunks, buzzer-beating three-pointers, and more. Can you see all the game day excitement? Really see it. If you wished your vision was clearer, Vance Thompson Vision's world-class team and experienced doctors can help. They use the most advanced technology to provide you with the best possible outcome for your eyes. Request your free laser vision consultation from the premier LASIK and cataract surgeons in Montana. Visit VanceThompsonVision.com today for more information.
The world of real estate is always evolving. That's more true now than ever. If you are a longtime Missoulian that is looking to upgrade or downsize, it might be the best time yet to sell. If you're in the position to buy something new, today might be the best time to buy. And no matter what questions you have when it comes to residential or commercial real estate, Mike Nugent and the professionals at Berkshire Hathaway in Missoula have your answers. To find out what Mike can do for you, give him a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
The Silver Slipper is the place to watch all the basketball madness this month. Monday through Friday happy hour from 5 to 7 p.m. Half off drinks, $1 off beer, and $1 off wine. There will be daily drink and food specials, plus the Silver Slipper Bracket Challenge with prizes for first through third place and a daily drawing for a gift card. Must be present to win. The Silver Slipper has over 55 TVs, so you won't miss a game. Head on down to the Silver Slipper, across from Walmart on Highway 93 in Missoula. The Silver Slipper is the place to watch all the basketball madness this month.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
A trio of standout performances highlighted the Al Manuel Invitational in Missoula last weekend, getting collegiate outdoor track and field kicked off around the Treasure State. Hello, I am Colter Nuanez. At Dornblazer Field in Missoula, Grizz sophomore javelin thrower Evan Topp topped the throw of his life. He hucked the jab 229 feet 2 inches, breaking his personal best by more than 10 feet. Kalispell native's throw ranks first in the Big Sky Conference and fifth in the NCAA West Regional. The mark would have won last year's Big Sky Outdoor Championship, and he was just 3 feet from Jensen Lilquist's Montana program record. Last season, Todd finished fourth in the Big Sky, qualified for the NCAA Regionals during his rookie outdoor season with the Grizz. Todd earned Big Sky Conference Men's Field Athlete of the Week on Monday for his performance. The men's and women's track athletes of the week from the Big Sky went to a pair of Montana State standouts for their excellent afternoons at the Al Manuel in Missoula as well. Elena Carter, a junior sprinter and hurdler, ran 13.66 seconds in the 100-meter hurdles, second fastest time at MSU ever. She also ran a personal best in the 200, ran a leg on the winning 4x100 100-meter relay team, and long jump a personal best 19 feet, 6.25 inches. Schneider took home first place in the 200 and 400 meters, respectively, running times of 21.31 seconds and 46.63 seconds, earned the weekly Big Sky Award for the second time in his career.
This 102.9 ESPN Missoula Sports Center is brought to you by Aspen Sound.
Keep the heads ringing. Keep the heads ringing.
What's up, Montana? Welcome back. Nuanez now, ESPN Radio, as well as SWX Montana Television. Hope you're having an outstanding Wednesday. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. About 15 minutes from now, we'll be giving you an opportunity to win a dozen wings from Desperado Sports Tavern and Grill. The best wings in the Garden City, voted on by you, the voting public. Best of Missoula for years and years in a row. Best of Missoula is rolling again. Nominate people right now. They're doing a little bit differently. They're going to take nominations, then have an initial vote, and then a finalist vote. So if you got some votes, I don't know. If you want to throw out some best radio station votes for any of the Missoula Broadcasting Company stations, best radio broadcaster, best journalist, I don't know. There's a lot of people I know that maybe you want to nominate. A little shameless plug there. Well, Best of Missoula, always one of the fun things. So keep an ear to the ground on that. Rajim Seabrook joining me, Colter Nuanez, here in studio. Let's talk a little Grizz football. Let's talk a little offensive line.
I'm going to vote for you. Sorry to chop you off. You know I'm voting for you.
I love it. Well, good. Those that follow along know that I'm probably like borderline over the top and maybe a little bit obsessed with offensive lines and offensive line play. Part of it is just because that's the way I watch football. I was an offensive and defensive lineman.
Feel you.
It's the way that I sort of see the game. Most people watch the ball.
I don't.
My brother was a great safety, so he kind of watches it from the back end. That's why he's so good at like diagnosing coverages. Most people just watch the ball and where it goes. You can always tell the tenor, the tone, and the true battle in a football game by watching the trenches, though. Mm-hmm. And it's been my consistent analysis of the Grizz football team. There's been so much talk about what do the Grizz need in terms of coaching, quarterbacks, all these different things. The running back injury situation last year was such a huge storyline. But to me, the number one thing that has been missing from Grizz football over the last 10 years has been a dominant, take-no-prisoners offensive line. The Grizz have not had a first-team all-conference offensive lineman since 2011. Consider that. The Grizz offensive line used to be like the first-team all-conference offensive line. Like in the heyday, in the late 90s, early 2000s, you'd have 3 guys on the first team and 2 more guys on the second team.
I'm gonna give credence to your words. Growing up in New York,
yeah,
I would always watch. Why are these guys coming from Montana?
That's right.
As offensive linemen, like I never. And at that point, I really had no frame of reference of Montana, being from the East Coast, being a little guy. But I'm like, and then I would see these guys with no necks that look like walking tree trunks. And it was always, then moving here, going to school here, was always such an honor and pleasure seeing those big hog mollies go on to have good careers. The Corey Proctors, the Thatcher Soleils of the world, Big Thatch. And now we have had, a famine for over a decade. And that was something that the Grizzlies used to hang their hat on, that propelled them to the heights that we all still live in yesteryear over.
This last couple years, the Grizz have been solid on the offensive line, so I'm not completely dogging these guys.
No.
They haven't been horrible, but it's the thing that takes you over the top.
Absolutely.
It's how you can beat James Madison. It's how you can beat North Dakota State. If Montana wants to just be a quarterfinal team every year that wins 10 games and competes for a conference title and hosts a playoff game, competes with their rival, that's fine. But that's not what the expectation at Montana is.
No, sir.
All that stuff I just said should be the baseline, and you should be striving for dominating your rival, winning multiple Big Sky Conference champions, going to the Final Four or farther in the playoffs,
absolutely,
and chasing national championships. To do that, you have to have an offensive line that is elite. So that's all to say that Bobby Hauck, since his return to Montana, has been touting heavily his tried and true philosophy. You recruit athletic, smart offensive linemen.
Yep.
You throw them in the weight room. You get the guy who's 240 and then train him both physically and mentally for several years until he's 280, and then let him roll. Well, now they're in that scenario because they inherited, when Bobby Hauck took over, an offensive line that had a couple stalwarts that were pretty good players. Conlon Beaver was like a 3.5-year starter at left tackle. He's good. I mean, he's a 2-time all-conference guy.
Solid.
What used to be, you used to have the 4-year starter at left tackle, though, but for the Grizz, was getting drafted.
Oh, absolutely.
Conlon Beaver was a second-team All-League guy last year. So it's not as if he's like some sort of failure. He was a good player.
Oh.
But it used to be like you're saying, like John Skinner and Colin Dow and Levi Horn and guys that were like getting picked in the NFL.
Horn. Oh, yeah.
So
big boy.
Yeah, I mean, they had some mean offensive lines when I was in college, for sure. You did not want to cross those guys.
Heck no.
They were not only huge, they were like
nasty, not dirty, nasty. There's a difference.
Very scary. You wanted to be friends with those guys.
Absolutely.
But regardless, and then they had a sort of a great story and a project of a guy that turned into a very good player in Dylan Cook, a guy who came to Montana as a walk-on quarterback, transformed himself into a good right tackle. All that's to say, though, now they got to put the proof in the pudding because they were going to be rolling with some young, athletic offensive tackles that they recruited early on who have no experience. They're going to have to let them roll. How ready are they? Brandon Casey is a guy that chose Montana over offers from a couple Pac-12 schools. He's very talented, but he has no experience. Colin Drees, another guy who was recruited by Arizona State, chose Montana over the Sun Devils, but he's got no experience. How do those guys acclimate to it? And then he also got probably new faces at both the guard spots as well. The only real veteran returner is A.J. Forbes, a junior center who former transfer from Nebraska. So earlier today, I caught up with Chad Germer, the man who knows all of these things, the offensive line coach for the University of Montana. We're going to probably circle back around with Coach before the end of spring ball because I didn't get to ask him some of the other detailed questions. But here's some of the basics. Just a couple minutes from before spring football practice today with longtime University of Montana offensive line coach Chad Germer. Coach's Corner down here at Washington Grizzly Stadium. Montana offensive line coach Chad Germer joining us here on Nuanez now. Coach, it's been a minute. How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on for a minute here.
The talk always when you talk to Coach Hauck this time of year, fundamentals. You've been a guy that's coached offensive line for so long. What's evolved about it, though? Because I'm sure that there's a lot of fundamentals that are tried and true even from back when you were a player, and I'm sure there's new ones, too. So is there anything new that you're implementing?
Right off the top of my head, no. There's always new stuff, though. There's always, you're watching film, you're watching clinic film, you're doing what you can to pick up new stuff and watching other teams play. But there's definitely some things that never change. There's some, no matter, just new ways of saying it, probably more than anything else. But the bases are all still pretty much the same.
It seems like that has become something that's a part of college football, just the verbiage, like how complicated it is. Do you feel like it's complicated? Is it more complicated than it used to be?
I don't think so. I think there is really much more of a resource for players and coaches.
Right.
There's so much stuff out there, and I know our guys spend time, you type in O-line drills, you type in pass blocking or pass sets, and so you can find a lot of stuff, and I think a lot of our guys do that, and there's new little tricks, but nothing really earth-shattering. It's just kind of evolution that continues and continues.
Well, I know that you always like the teaching aspect of it. It seems like you can get a lot of that done, and you're going to have a pretty young group this year. So what do you like about that part, and what is it like when you approach a spring where you do have a lot of spots open, a lot of new guys getting a lot of new reps?
Not surprisingly, but one great thing is they're smart kids, and there's a difference between being they're all good. They all got a good football mind. They see it. They see angles. They understand the concepts. And like I always tell them, there's way too much stuff to memorize. You got to kind of know it. And the more of a junkie of just the technique and the aspect of playing offensive line you become, the way easier it is to pick everything up. And it really becomes almost simplistic to a certain degree as far as structure if you really get into it. And a lot of these guys they're old linemen. They're into all the stuff that comes along with it. Gotta love it. Chad Gerber joining us here on Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. He's Montana's offensive line coach. The tackle spots are the ones that a lot of people are looking at right now because he had a basically almost 4-year starter in Conlon Beaver, a 2-year starter in Dylan Cook, a lot of experience there. So this time of year, how important is it for young guys like Brandon Casey and some of the other guys that are fighting for spots at that tackle position? Yeah, it's super important, and not just to find 2 starters, but to find depth there as well. So, we've got a lot of guys in the mix, and Brandon's done a great job. Colin Drees has done a great job. Dylan Botner, we've got a couple guys that maybe aren't true tackles playing that and working in a little bit just to be as a reserve. But like I said, both those guys, Colin and Brandon, are super athletic and they're smart. They get it. It's important to them, and it's really been a joy to coach them.
That position, too, it's so fascinating because a lot of times, I know this has been sort of your philosophy, Bobby's philosophy for a long time. You get the guys that are athletic and then try to develop them with the strength and the power and stuff like that. Is there a place where you hope it starts clicking? I mean, how many reps, how many games, how many practices does it take for guys like that to kind of start turning the corner?
These guys a little different. Fortunately, both these guys, it's pretty quick. Yeah. Now, they still got a lot of work to do, but as far as seeing the big picture and understanding why, like I said, again, why they're asked to do something, understanding why that's the case, they're both pretty sharp in that area, so they've both been pretty quick learners.
And you lose some veteran guys on the inside, too, at the guard position, but that was sort of a position that rotated quite a bit. So what'd you like about the fact that you guys could rotate at the inside spots last year? And who are some of the main candidates to sort of fill in with the guard spots?
Liam Brown, his guys jump way up.
He looks great, by the way.
No, he's a great-looking kid. Daniel Keela Lincoln's another guy that's got great feet, and expect him to be a really good player. Kevin Goods, another guy that's got body to him that is definitely got the build to be a really good player for us. So we got a few guys they're young and not many people know their names, but I really like how athletic and how important it is to them. I like guys that love to play, and these guys all really enjoy all this stuff. So they're a good group. They're probably doing their drills without me right there, so that tells you something.
You got to love it. The offensive line is absolutely doing the drills, so we got to let Coach go. But we'll do one last thing for you then. We always talk about this. The individuals are only a part of it. It's about the sum of the parts, right? The offensive line has to be one unit. So what's the biggest challenge to reach that, or I guess at least build on that during this spring period?
Like I said, they understand that. Now we got to get them to do it all the time, but they do understand how just things like spacing and how you're not a one-man show out there, and you got to understand how the game works and understand how important your part is, not just to yourself, but to the guy on your left and right. So they've got a pretty good knack for that. They really do. And so they've been, like I said, they've been fun to work with so far. They got a long ways to go, but overall, I like guys that love to play, and they really enjoy it. And I've really had a good time coaching them this spring.
Chad Germer, Montana offensive line coach. Get back to work, Coach. Appreciate you being here.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate you.
The scene of the practice was, while Coach Germer was doing the interview with me, his offensive line really was. They started doing their own drills. They don't even need Coach Germer. So you know you have a well-trained unit when that's the case. I'm going to keep my eye on this because I think of all of the different storylines for the Grizz coming out of last year, which was a great year for the Grizz, but also with some pretty stark but also pretty defined missing pieces. I think that's actually a great place to be as a program when you know you have a couple weaknesses, but you know exactly what they are, right?
That's the best foundation to build a platform of success on and off of.
For sure.
Absolutely. We have these holes, plug them. We got a deficit, let's try to fill it in. It's when you have almost too much at too many positions where it gets kind of ambiguous. So healthy problems.
Just from the brief observations I've had of the Grizz so far, I've been down there to practice 3 times. Their defense looks great. The quarterback competition is going to be entertaining at the least, if not fierce at the best. But I really think that's why I started this sort of interview series with Coach Germer, because I think that the key to Montana taking the proverbial next step is going to lie in the trenches. We'll talk some more football in hour number 2. But we're going to get out right now because we want to give you some wings, the Desperado Sports Tavern and Grill. We're also going to have a little elongated history lesson. Keep going through my favorite new old book. Keep it right here. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. Hey there, Colter Nuanez from Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Here with Tom. Window tinting is at an all-time high demand. So, Tom, how do people get a hold of you to get their car on the books at Aspen Sound?
Colter, well, at this time of year, we stay pretty busy with the window tints. So make sure just to give us a buzz, and we'll get you on the books. With the warm weather right around the corner, it's good to get in early rather than late.
Aspen Sound, located at 1300 West Broadway in Missoula.
Feel the music at Aspen Sound.
Part of the glory of building a business comes from leaving a legacy to ensure your business continues thriving into the future. Have you asked yourself lately, what is your plan? Forming a personalized business succession plan is essential to know the passion you put into your business will carry on. Nick Tabor at Westpac Wealth is here to help you navigate all your business succession and retirement planning needs. Give Nick a call at 728-6699 and keep the spirit of possibility vibrant while making your future more tax efficient with a personalized business succession and retirement plan for you.
As the seasons change in Montana, it's critical to make sure your vehicle is in full working order. And that's why now is the time to take your rig to Crawford's Automotive. Crawford's Auto on West Broadway does any work you need on any vehicle you have. To make sure you're running soundly, take it to Crawford's Automotive. Get your brakes checked or replaced at Crawford's, and the job will be done right every time with Chase Crawford personally doing the work on your vehicle. Take your cars and trucks to someone you can trust. For all your automotive needs, it's Crawford's Automotive on West Broadway.
Whether you're in the restaurant business or you just want to host any big event, J&V Restaurant Supply can make sure you have everything you need. J&V Restaurant Supply is your home for everything kitchen. Whether you're a bear or a bobcat, an eagle or a Scotty, J&V Restaurant has everything you might need. They have locations in Bozeman, Billings, and Great Falls. If you can't make it in, J&V also has a great website, jvrestaurant.com. Get everything you need for your next event at J&V, your restaurant specialists. Jake Dubeck knows people, and because of his gift of getting to know anyone he crosses paths with, Jake Dubeck understands what makes Montana so great. The Montanans. Whether you're looking to buy or sell real estate in the Helena area, Jake Dubeck should be your first call. Any questions you might have, from the accelerating Montana real estate market to knowledge of the neighborhoods in and around the capital city, if you're in the Helena area, call Jake Dubeck at 406-465-5506. Jake, proud supporter of the Montana State Minute with Danny Sprinkle.
Now, the Montana Club's happy hour features BOGO beverages. Our expertly mixed cocktails, microbrews, domestics, and wine are buy one, get one free 7 days a week from 3 to 5:30. Stop in on Friday for Montini night. Sip on a top shelf martini for only $6, 5:30 to close. When you've worked hard all day and are ready to relax, the Montana Club has got you covered with BOGO happy hour 7 days a week, 3 to 5:30 on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
It's Nuanez now on 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
What up, Montana? A little Modest Mouse for you here on your Wednesday. Hope you're having a fantastic week so far. Spring is here. Feels good for spring to be here as well.
Amazing.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Time now for Wing It Wednesday. Every Wednesday, we have a whole bunch of different ways of doing this, and it sort of evolves throughout the calendar year. But always Wednesday, usually about quarter till the top of the 5 o'clock hour, we have the opportunity to give you a dozen wings to the Desperado Sports Tavern and Grill, voted on by you, the Missoula public, as the best wings in the city of Missoula. So let's do it right now. Text us. Let's go. Texter number 3, 888-1029. That's 888-1029. Texter number 3, you will be the proud winner of a dozen wings from the Desperado Sports Tavern and Grill. Despo, an awesome place to watch all the sports and eat all of the good foods and drink all of the good beers. And, if you don't drink beer, maybe you have soda pop, whatever. NHL playoffs is coming up as well. And that is a great spot to watch hockey, I promise. You're going to find some hockey diehards. You're going to see a lot of jerseys down there. It's going to be a fun time. So text us right now, 406-888-1029. We've been doing some history lessons for those following along. For those watching on SWX Montana Television, got this awesome book, 100 Greatest Sports Heroes. It's by Mac Davis. It's sort of a compilation of all of the sports writers of the time and who they thought were some of the best athletes at this moment. The kicker here is this was published in 1954, so it's very fun to sort of remember some of the old school athletes. I think it's so fun how many of the guys I do remember And then how many of the people I've never heard of as well. It's interesting to see the way that history carries on and evolves itself. We are now on page 54, and we are on to the chapter about Ben Hogan. Ben Hogan, you might not remember anything about him, but chances are if you play golf, you know the name, only because Ben Hogan has become sort of a brand name. There's Ben Hogan clubs, and there's Ben Hogan shirts and all
We have a Ben Hogan drive here in Missoula.
I think we do. That's exactly right. And so, maybe if he wasn't part of your lexicon because of knowing who he was, you've probably still heard the name. But Ben Hogan was certainly one of the great golfers of all time. In 1953, at the age of 41, he won the U.S. Open, the British Open, and the Masters at Augusta, and he was the first man to ever do that. And we always talk about the career Grand Slam, and then there's always the notion of the Tiger Grand Slam, and that's where you win all of the majors in the same year. Tiger won all 4 majors in succession, but it was not in one calendar golf season. But it's been elusive for a really long time. I believe Walter Hagen, the last guy to actually win the traditional Grand Slam, but Ben Hogan, the first guy to ever win the U.S. Open, the British Open, and the Masters in the same year. So pretty interesting. Pretty fun to remember him. We're going to do a couple of these today because I just think it's fun, and we also have a little time to breathe here. The next guy, though, is one I had never heard of ever, is Willie Hop. He was the boy wonder. And from gleaning and skimming, I believe he was a champion pool player. This is the Rajiv Zurich in studio with me, by the way. Hey. This is the illustration here. So I'm just gaining that this is a pool player. I don't really know. I don't really think that there's any more to say about old Willie Hop.
It's a native New Yorker, buddy.
Do you know that? Okay, that's cool. Look at you. You are a history buff at its finest.
Well, the thing about New York is, like, regardless of the sport, when you are some of the best, like, they just kind of transcends. And my grandfather, my pop, was a big snooker guy, which is billiards as opposed to playing pool. And there in some of the billiard halls when he would play snooker, that guy's name was in picture was always around the pool halls because he was I think from like Hudson, New York, a little like south upstate, just north of the city.
Unbelievable. So this is the last 2 paragraphs of this chapter on Billy Hop. And this chapter is actually way longer than most of the chapters. So he was obviously very revered during this time. But it says, in 46 years of first-line competition, Hop won and held world titles in billiards 51 times. No champion in any sport so monopolized the top spot in his game. Under the terrific tension of tournament play, his eyes stayed as keen, his hand as steady, his competitive spirit as firm as when he first stepped into big-time play as a boy at the age of 18. Pretty cool. And then it goes on to say, it has been estimated that Hop, over the years, over his 46-year professional career, spent more than 100,000 hours at the billiards table and had walked, I guess this guy walked around to the tournaments, had walked 26,000 miles in pursuit of one championship or another. When he retired, Hop could look back 59 years to the day to his father's barbershop when he first held a cue in his hands. From that far beginning to the day he gave up competitive billiards, William Hop, one-time boy wonder of the billiards world, had been the perennial master of all in the sport, the most durable champion in any sport of any time. Amazing. Great sports writing there. And very educational. I never had known about William Hop, so very cool. Let's do one more before we get into our ESPN roundtable, because Jason Brown, the head coach of the Grizz tennis team, as well as Gustav Thielgaard, he's going to say his last name for us more eloquently. I was talking to Eric Tabor down at Montana Sports Information Director down at Grizz practice, and he was like, here's how you say it. But he's like, just have him say it for you, because he'll give you the Viking version, as Tabor said, because Gustav is from Denmark, so this will be fun.
Coulter, can I just share something? My brother, who's in New York listening to this broadcast, goes, hey, dumb explicative, remind your boy Coulter that the last name it's actually pronounced Hoppy.
Hoppy. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and he goes,
I love it.
Just a little,
I love it.
3,000 miles away broadcasting.
I was delineating between Hop, Hope, and Hoppy, And I went with the first, but I'm glad. It's Hoppy.
Yeah.
Willie Hoppy, the boy wonder.
Listeners in Brooklyn, New York right now, buddy.
Gotta love it. All right, one last history lesson for you here. Desperado Tavern presenting Wing It Wednesday here, having a little fun on your Wednesday. Rogers Hornsby, this is definitely one that I knew extensively about when I was a kid because I was obsessed with the history of baseball. And Rogers Hornsby is famed as one of the great hitting second basemen of all time. Over 24 seasons, he led the National League in batting 7 times, 7 batting titles, including 6 in a row. And he has the distinction of being the only Major League Baseball player ever to hit 400 or better in a season 3 different times, including when he hit 424 in 1924, which is still, to this day, 98 years later, the highest batting average ever by an individual in a single season. 424. That's amazing.
That's ridiculous, especially like how we praise guys who hit 300.
Oh, if you hit 325, you're killing it.
You're killing it.
So to hit 25 points over 400 is amazing.
So that's almost 50%, which is like, oh my, that's amazing. Like considering the time, that's impressive and scary.
358, his total career batting average. So amazing. Rogers Hornsby, one of the great second baseman of all time during the teens, 20s, and into the early 1930s. A tease for later on, our next history lesson. Our next 3 are actually very fun as well, but the next one's going to be Don Hudson, and he's a fascinating character.
That's a good one.
Fascinating character in football history. Definitely one of the how do you say, the pioneers of the deep threat. I mean, he was like the first deep threat in NFL history.
Trailblazer.
Right? Yeah. One of the guys that really brought the forward pass into the game of football and modernized football a lot. Yeah. Hour 1 of the books, hour 2 coming at you. How about some Grizz tennis? Jason Brown, Gustav Thielgaard, part of our ESPN Roundtable. Back right after this. Keep it right here. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio.
Back by popular demand, Zootown Sports Cards presents the Missoula Sports Card and Collectibles Show. Check out exceptionally rare and coveted cards and goods from more than 40 vendors from around the state and region. It's all going down at the Doubletree Hotel Saturday, April 2nd, 10 till 5. Admission for attendees is free. JSA authentication will be on site, so come check out the hottest in the memorabilia industry at the Missoula Sports Card and Collectibles Show at the Doubletree, April 2nd. Presented by Zootown Sports Cards of Missoula.
Here at Florence Coffee Co., we are proud to serve the finest flavors under the big sky, like our smooth and delectable cold brewed toddy coffee. Florence Coffee's fresh brewed toddy coffee is known for its low acidity and smooth flavor. Served over ice, add your favorite flavor or an iced coffee like no other. Try one today at any of our Flowco locations around Western Montana and visit us at florencecoffeeco.com.
This is Brandon G. Fowler, consumer and construction lender with Stockman Bank. We are proud to be the statewide sponsor of the Montana High School Association's sportsmanship program. At Stockman, supporting and encouraging our youth has always been important to us. We are excited to partner with an organization that promotes teamwork and good sportsmanship to Montana students of all ages, developing tomorrow's leaders through good sportsmanship today. Stockman Bank, Montana's brand of banking. Member FDIC.
Have you ever worried if you're up to snuff in the bedroom? Are you looking to skip the waiting lines in the admission at the pharmacy? Do you want effective male enhancement delivered right to your door? Palmer's Drug of Missoula has you covered. All you need is a prescription from a doctor and a home address for Palmer's Drug to ship to. If you want to improve your love life and get right in the bedroom, all while keeping it discreet, look into home delivery through Palmer's Drug. Palmer's Drug, your trusted local pharmacy in Missoula.
It's time to gear up for spring sports and adventure at Bob Ward's. Save now on new gear for soccer, baseball, softball, tennis, and more. Hit the links with new golf apparel, clubs, bags, and more. Everything you need for any spring sports is in stock now, with more arriving daily at Bob Ward's. Grab the latest styles from top brands in the athletic department. Get technology and style in the newest footwear from Brooks, Hoka, Under Armour, and all your favorite brands. Even our camping and water sports department are stocked with new gear. Gear up at Bob Ward's. Sports and outdoors, Montana style.
The
Silver Slipper is the place to watch all the basketball madness this month. Monday through Friday happy hour from 5 to 7 p.m. Half off drinks, $1 off beer, and $1 off wine. There will be daily drink and food specials, plus the Silver Slipper Bracket Challenge with prizes for first through third place and a daily drawing for a gift card. Must be present to win. The Silver Slipper has over 55 TVs, so you won't miss a game. Head on down to the Silver Slipper, across from Walmart on Highway 93 in Missoula. The Silver Slipper is the place to watch all the basketball madness this month.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275ES Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
A trio of standout performances highlighted the Al Manuel Invitational in Missoula last weekend, getting collegiate outdoor track and field kicked off around the Treasure State. Hello, I am Coulter Nuanez. At Dornblazer Field in Missoula, Grizz sophomore javelin thrower Evan Topp topped the throw of his life. He hucked the jab 229 feet 2 inches, breaking his personal best by more than 10 feet. Kalispell native's throw ranks first in the Big Sky Conference and 5th in the NCAA West Regional. The mark would have won last year's Big Sky Outdoor Championship, and he was just 3 feet from Jensen Lilquist's Montana program record. Last season, Todd finished 4th in the Big Sky, qualified for the NCAA Regionals during his rookie outdoor season with the Grizz. Todd earned Big Sky Conference Men's Field Athlete of the Week on Monday for his performance. The men's and women's track athletes of the week from the Big Sky went to a pair of Montana State standouts for their excellent afternoons at the Al Manuel in Missoula as well. Elena Carter, a junior sprinter and hurdler, ran 13.66 seconds in the 100-meter hurdles, second fastest time at MSU ever. She also ran a personal best in the 200, ran a leg on the winning 4x100-meter relay team, and long jumped a personal best 19 feet, 6.25 inches. Schneider took home first place in the 200 and 400 meters respectively, running times of 21.31 seconds and 46.63 seconds, earned the weekly Big Sky Award for the second time in his career.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is brought to you by Selway Armory.
As Coach just said, winning's easy, but it also gets you on the radio. We always like to do a little Grizz tennis when it's this time of year anyways. Jason Brown, and this is how I say his last name, but we're going to have him say it for you in a minute. Gustav Thielgaard here in studio with us. Thanks so much for hanging out with us here on a Wednesday. It's Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. Maybe you're watching in SWX Montana Television. Thanks for being here. If you missed anything in the first hour of the show, talked some Grizz basketball. Robbie Beasley into the transfer portal. That's the latest news of the day when it comes to Grizz hoops. Also talked some Grizz football. Heard from Chad Germer, University of Montana offensive line coach. And also talked about some historic athletes, including Ben Hogan and Billy Hoppy. Very cool. This book my mother gave me, The Greatest Sports Stars of the First Half of the 21st Century, or the 20th Century, excuse me. So we're trying to keep you educated around here. You can find everything from today's first hour on the Nuanez Now podcast, proudly presented by Sportsbet Montana, as well as the Advocates. It's a Wednesday, so that means it's time for our ESPN Roundtable, presented by Paradise Falls. Paradise Falls also our presenting sponsor for our bracket challenge. So hopefully your bracket's doing okay. I almost guarantee you it's not. Nobody's bracket looks very good this year, unless, of course, maybe you were smart enough to pick Mike Krzyzewski to go to the Final Four. That's actually not that outrageous of a bet. But either way, thanks for entering, and thanks to Paradise Falls for being the proud sponsor of our bracket challenge and for being the proud sponsor year-round of the ESPN Roundtable. Jason Brown, as I mentioned, the head coach of the University of Montana men's tennis team, as well as one of his freshman standouts here in studio. Thanks so much for being here, guys. First of all, let's talk just broadly, Coach, about the start to this season. You guys off to an 11-1 start. You're getting some love in the national rankings. You're undefeated in Big Sky Conference play. We've talked a lot. I mean, you've been in here before. We've talked about sort of the challenges of building tennis programs in cold weather places like Montana. It's not always easy, but it seems like he's got it rolling a little bit right now. What's been the keys? I mean, what have been some of the elements of Grizz tennis success so far this spring?
Well, I think first off, we've got some great senior leadership this year. I think he came in when he was a freshman or sophomore, but Asheen Shaffrey, and there's
he's one of our favorites. The old Irishman, loving telling stories with that guy. He's fun.
Exactly, and he's got three seniors with him: Ed Pudney, Pontus Halgren, and Milo Ben, who are all from all different parts of the globe, and they've provided a nice backbone of leadership for us. Yeah, it's been a fantastic start. I really have enjoyed getting the speech. Post game losing speech very rusty this year. I haven't had to bust it out. We were actually the last undefeated team in D1,
which is cool.
Yeah, first time in the national rankings for our program. We're on week 6 in a row. So yeah, setting some really cool precedences for the program and with Gustav and some of the guys coming in, we're just looking to build a really bright future here at Montana and make it a mid-major powerhouse. And I think it looks really bright.
From a scheduling perspective, how does that work? Because you have obviously your conference games, but for non-conference stuff, I talk about this with Travis DeCure quite often, and of course Shannon Schwain and then Brian Holsinger about basketball scheduling. How's it work from a tennis perspective? I mean, is there such thing as money matches and things like they're talking about in basketball, or how does it work? How do you guys, how do you get an Air Force to come to Missoula, for example?
It's honestly a lot about relationships.
Yeah.
And a little give and take. We'd had some nice matches with Air Force in the past, and if you travel down to Colorado Springs a couple of times and have a nice relationship with the coaches, they respect our program and our players and say like, oh, we'd love to come up and see Montana. It's been really difficult for us to get quality opponents in here.
Because you guys have won now 26 of your last 28 home matches. Is that right?
Yeah, we haven't lost at home in like 3 years.
Yeah, right.
And hopefully that trend continues. But really tough to get. Utah is never coming here. Right. And I know Travis runs into that same problem.
For sure, Coach DeCure talks about it all the time. He said, "I'd love to schedule a home and home from Gonzaga. Gonzaga's not coming to Missoula."
Absolutely not. I mean, the risk reward for them is, we can ruin a Utah or a BYU season with a loss in Missoula. So we try to get the best competition we can to come in through here. And then this year we took a little different scheduling route. We scheduled a couple of top D3 schools, top 20 D3 schools to play.
And there's some really good ones in the region, right? I mean, Whitworth is very good, always competitive.
Yeah, and got to go play them on the road when we took a trip out to Oregon to play Portland State. And yeah, it turned out the 2 D3 schools we played were actually better than Portland State this year. So change things up a little competition-wise. Allowed us to get a lot of confidence. Last year we took a road trip down and played BYU and Utah both in our first outdoor matches and came back not thinking we knew how to play tennis anymore. So we tried to avoid that this year, and it's worked well. The guys are confident, and I mean, winning's contagious, Yeah. They find ways. We found a way this last weekend just to win a match that was kind of tricky, and I honestly wasn't that stressed about it. I kind of looked around and said, these guys will get it done, and they did. So
fun, the lost art of Division I sports. Gustav, tell us about your story. You hail from Denmark. You've been here at Montana for a little while. So what kind of first led you here?
Well, it was actually Jason that just led me here. I was pretty stressed about my decision to go to college or stay back home, and I didn't really know what to do. So I contacted an agent, and she got me in contact with Jason. And then, after the first call, I was pretty sure that I was coming to Missoula.
What's tennis like where you're from? Is it big? Is it a big sport, or are you kind of an anomaly? How does it work?
Well, Denmark's a kind of a small country, so
sure.
Sports in general is just not very big, and it's been pretty different to come over here, where it's like I feel like I've got a lot more players to play with, and it's been easy, when we have like 4 seniors and stuff I can lean up against and listen to what they're saying and listen to their experience. And that's been, helping me to improve as a tennis player, both on and off the court as well.
Gustav, say your last name for us.
Tejlgaard.
Tejlgaard.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
I'm saying Thielgard over here. This is a completely uneducated American.
It has to be like you have a potato in your mouth.
I like that.
Yeah.
Tejlgaard. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you recently won Big Sky Conference Men's Tennis Player of the Week, second time so far. So what have you thought of just competing in the Big Sky, just the level of competition? How have you been able to have such a standout freshman year?
Well, I feel like it's been easy to be around such good coaches, great team spirit, and that just made like everybody on the team, I feel like, has been performing really good. So it's been easy for me to just jump straight in on the team and just play my best tennis. I don't think I've played as good as I've been playing the last couple of weeks, so it's been really nice.
The from sort of a background perspective, when you're like a little kid in Denmark, what does everybody say? Is it soccer or is it hockey? What is like sort of the national pastime?
Well, it's soccer and handball, maybe.
Handball, interesting. So did you play handball growing up?
No, I didn't.
Not our handball.
No, well, it's not. It's Denmark actually founded a sport called handball.
Interesting. And so it's not the same as we play here.
It's
Okay.
not the same at all. It's like huge dudes running into each other. It's quite similar. More similar to football or something.
Oh, interesting.
It's like a lot of body contact and stuff.
That's very interesting. Well, cool. What do you think of Montana so far?
Well, it's been really good. It feels like kind of home pretty quickly to me. Like the town I'm living in Denmark is like a smaller town, and I feel like it's kind of the same environment here, so it's been pretty easy for me to adapt to live here in Missoula.
Jason Brown and Gustav, say it one more time.
Talgo
here in studio with us. It's our ESPN Roundtable, our long-form interview for the week. These guys from the Grizz tennis team, they are undefeated in Big Sky Conference play, 3-0. Idaho State coming to town Saturday. Northern Arizona coming to town on Sunday. So a pair of home matches. If you want something to do, go check these guys out. And Coach, let's talk about sort of the first of all, this young man, because the acclimation point for any freshman to college period is always it's a steep learning curve for sure. And then you add Division I sports, that makes it even more challenging. And then you talk about somebody that came from thousands of miles away, hasn't seen his mom probably in a really long time. It's tough. So what have you thought just his ability to sort of acclimate, but not only acclimate, but make a big impact on your program?
Yeah, I mean, it's a testament to the maturity of these guys who decide to leave the safety and comfort of their home country, come and take college classes in their second language.
Right.
Yeah. Meanwhile, trying to compete.
And it comes on the radio in his second language, too. It's like me trying to talk Spanish on ESPN radio in Spain. It's not happening. This is amazing.
No, yeah. For me, it's inspiring, and I'm impressed every day by these guys. And they continue to win the academic award for the university athletic department every single year. It's an amazing testament to just not only their maturity, but I really try to recruit guys who love tennis, who love the sport. So we were talking on the drive over here a little bit about the idea that, post football playoffs, nobody's getting the pads on and hitting each other in Washington Grizzly.
Right.
And tennis season ends, and 2 days later, I see 90% of the team out hitting tennis balls because it's what they love to do.
Totally.
And it makes my job easy. I tend to have to pull them back from trying to play too much and having overuse injuries and whatnot. But, yeah, I
that's one of the things that makes it such a great sport too, though, right? I mean, it's very kind of much like golf, where you can play it all the time. You can play it for your whole life, and there's so many different levels you can play it at too, right? You can just go hit balls with your buddies, or you can play an intense Division I match.
Yeah, and then for Gustav and some of the newer recruits we've been getting, most of them have pro aspirations.
Sure.
Which, they get 4 years to come here, get an education, and we can figure out how good they can be, and we'll have a pretty clear idea when they wrap up their college career. And, Gustav's playing number 4 this year as a freshman. He can easily be playing number 1, and probably will for the rest of his career. In fact, if he's not the conference MVP by the time we're done here, I'm messing up. So, yeah, excited about the future, to say the least.
Well, it's always so fun, too, to look through just rosters in general in the Big Sky Conference, but particularly at the 2 Montana schools, and just see sort of the international flavor. You're a guy from Conrad, Montana, so this must be so fun for you. I mean, Brisbane, Australia, you got New Zealand, Sweden, Spain, England, another Australian, Ireland, Germany, Denmark, and then you got the one Montana guy in Josh Watkins on the squad as well. So how does this sort of coalescing of cultures work, though? Because it must be fascinating to sort of see all these different people bring all these different elements to your team.
Yeah, I think that there's some cohesiveness in tennis. Most of these guys have sort of known of each other.
Sure.
If they haven't known each other, been at the same tournaments throughout Europe.
Because you have to be like pretty darn high level in Europe to be getting recruited to, American colleges, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I just think that there's the people possibly, I'm going to sound a touch biased here, but I think they underestimate the level at which we're playing at comparative to maybe other sports across like our department or the conference. Like the tennis level in the Big Sky has just risen in the 10 years I've been involved in the program astronomically.
For sure.
So, I think that you see some teams that end up with 5 guys from one region or one country on a team, and I don't think it leads well to good culture. I think these guys enjoy the fact that there's people from all over, and usually my rule is like 2 guys from one country tends to work a little better. and they do a lot of recruiting of each other.
Sure.
Hey, this is a great guy. I'd love to have him on our team. He would fit right in. He's a great player. Makes me look very smart in recruiting. And in fact, Gustav's here because he's our first Dane.
Right.
But I have a good relationship with the coach at the University of San Diego.
Oh, cool.
And they have a Danish kid who's the number 1 player in the NCAA. Spoke to him last year, and he says, "Oh, you'll really like this guy. He's a good kid, great forehand. He'll be a great college tennis player for you." And that's all I need to hear. I mean, on top of getting to know him a bit through the recruiting process.
And Gustav, from your perspective, it's always fun to meet all sorts of new people your freshman year of college, but now you have all these teammates from all over the world. So what have you learned from them? What have been some of the experiences you guys have had?
Well, I mean, it's just fun to be around them both on and off the court, and learn some new things, both on the court, but like off the court, especially like just languages, accents and stuff. It's just so funny to even have a conversation with people because we have just different ways of saying things.
For sure.
It just makes a normal conversation even more exciting than it usually would.
So if I'm going to Denmark, I'm going on vacation to Denmark.
Yeah.
What do I have to eat?
We actually have some stuff called smørrebrød, which is like just it's bread with some different meats on, and that's probably the thing Denmark's most known for. I mean, just the different types of meat we've got in Denmark.
What do you think of the food here? Because we always talk about language barriers and social acclimation, but it's the food that you got to eat every day. And if you don't like the food, that's going to be a bad experience.
Yeah, I mean, the food is more exciting than Danish food, to be honest. Like we loved it, like plain fruit, like really plain food, like plain bread, oatmeal, completely plain. Like it's pretty boring actually, but that's what I've been used to, so it's kind of exciting sometimes when I go in the food zoo on campus and there's a whole different buffet of all the stuff I can imagine, so that's pretty nice.
Is there anything about Missoula or Montana that surprised you?
Actually, not really. I talked with a lot of the guys before I came as well, so I knew what I was going into, so that was... I mean, not really.
What about other places that you've been? I know you've been around a little bit now, traveling for tennis. Any place that was like, wow, I didn't expect it to be like that?
I feel like religion is
interesting.
Is a thing over here that's like much more serious about religion and stuff. Where you don't see it as often in Denmark. Like you don't see people like talk about the religion and stuff in public and stuff, and you can tell like for example when we went to BYU, that was a different experience
for sure. Yeah.
So I've never experienced the Mormon people before ever,
right,
so that was that was pretty new for me, and that's probably the main thing that's been different for me.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I remember talking. Eastern Washington had a great Australian pipeline going for men's basketball, and when the men's basketball tournament used to be in Reno, you'd run into the athletes so much more often because everybody was staying in the same place. And I remember talking to Venke Joyce, who was one of the great Eastern players, and I was like, so what did you think of like living in Cheney? And he was like, man, I didn't know that he thought America was all the same. He didn't realize that it wasn't just like farm fields and wheat fields. He's like, the first time I went to Montana, I'm seeing all these mountains. I'm thinking this is great. Then I go to California, I realize we're on the beach, and it's just so diverse, right? There's just so many different elements. So it's just such a huge country, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I've heard a lot of people in class and stuff that haven't been out of America like ever, and that's so weird for me to think about because I've been traveling like all over Europe and the world in general because
it's so much closer to good places, right? How far of a drive is like France from where you live?
Probably like 12 hours.
Yeah, so like not crazy though. You can get there pretty easily.
Nearly just across the state here or something. So I mean that's so weird to think about.
Yeah, no, it is. It's very interesting. What's it been like going to school in a second language?
Well, I mean, the start of the first semester was pretty tough, but we started learning English in Denmark pretty early, and it's just something you have to learn, just to travel, and English is just something you need to learn. So the first maybe like a month or two was tough for me, and then it's been like easy. And I start to forget how to speak Danish sometimes. I feel like,
Right. So you're going to go home and your mom's going to be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Jason Brown, Gustav Thielgaard. How'd I do? Thielgo.
Talgo.
Talgo.
Yeah,
Gustav
Talgo. You forget the potato.
Okay, Gustav Talgo.
Yeah.
Lessons in Danish names here on Nuanez Now. It's ESPN Radio. It's our ESPN Roundtable. These guys from the Grizz tennis team. And Grizz off to an 11-1 start, 3-0 in Big Sky Conference play. So, Coach, let's talk about sort of the stretch run of the season here. You guys got the 2 home matches, Idaho State here on Saturday, Northern Arizona here on Sunday, and then a little bit more than a week out from having Sac State come to town. And then you got kind of a season-ending road trip that culminates in the rivalry with the Bobcats, who, by the way, Bobcats are rolling along right now, too. They're 14-6 overall. They are 4-0 in Big Sky Conference play. Trey Morris from MSU will join us here on the show later on this week, so I'll look forward to that as well. But what's the sort of upcoming navigation of this stretch run going to be like? What are sort of the keys for your team? What do you want to see them maintain? What do you want to see them improve?
Well, I just saying an extra little prayer, speaking of religion, an extra little prayer to somebody every night that we stay healthy. We've ran into a couple little injuries here and there, and, the guys have stepped up. We lost our number 1 player at Eastern Washington and still ran off a 7-0 victory. So we'll see. As you've seen in probably every Big Sky sport now, the parity's unbelievable. There's not nearly the drop-off at the bottom there used to be.
For sure.
And in men's tennis, we lost 2 programs. So we lost Southern Utah and Northern Colorado during COVID, both schools dropping their programs, and they were perennially sort of the bottom of the Big Sky. And so, no easy matches left for us.
Is there a reason for that? Because we've sort of seen, I thought this was sort of fascinating, in football, when Idaho, Boise State, and Nevada left the Big Sky Conference, but then Montana sort of drove the ship forward in the mid-'90s, and then everybody sort of was chasing Montana, but it helped the whole league rise. Same thing in women's basketball. So many teams have invested in women's basketball because of what Robin Selvig built with the Lady Grizz program, and we've seen it sort of across the board. And now we see sort of these burgeoning softball programs. Is there anything you can point to as to why maybe there has been such an increase in level of competition and talent in the Big Sky Conference in tennis?
Yeah, a couple of things. I think probably three things I can think of off the top of my head. One is there was during COVID, some of the top programs, there was a bunch of programs, even some Power 5 schools that lost their programs. And so those players hit the transfer portal and scattered into mid-majors, basically.
That's interesting. So the transfer portal is a thing in men's tennis as well.
Yeah, Montana State's got, I think, 3 or 4 transfers. For sure. We have one.
You guys have one. He's a Boise State, Washington State, is that right?
Yeah, he started in George Washington.
Right. Okay, I knew there was a Washington in there somewhere.
Yeah, cut the program, ended up at Boise, wasn't happy, came to us. So that's part of it. The other big thing with professional tennis now, it used to be you'd see Boris Becker win Wimbledon at 17, and now guys are maturing sort of 24, 25, 26 as professionals.
And they can also play so much longer now, too, right? I mean, you look
Absolutely.
Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal and Novak Djokovic are blazing a whole new trail right now.
Yeah, guys used to retire in their late 20s.
Pete Sampras retired when he was, 32, and he was like ancient by tennis standards, right?
Absolutely. So, these guys are seeing that college is this great time to get hopefully high-level coaching if they choose the right program, good string and sponsorship, shoe deals, and getting to travel and sort of test their level while getting an education. So those are 2 of the big things that have driven it up. And the third actually is maybe more conference-centric to the Big Sky. And this is slightly my opinion, maybe kind of knowledgeable, but when you say a lot of these teams are chasing Montana in football, I think some of these schools have decided, hey, we're going to pour some money into some of these smaller sports that we have a shot at.
For sure.
Idaho State can become, you throw just a few dollars at Idaho State, they can become viable in men's tennis really quickly.
For sure.
Where they might not catch us because their facilities are so far behind in football. It's going to be really tough for the Bengals to dominate the Big Sky.
For sure, right.
So a little bit of that. So we've seen a lot of, the bottom rise up, and it's made it exciting and made me a better tennis coach. So I love the challenge.
You got a little last thing for you then, Coach. If you were to just tell the community, tell the state, sort of like the style that your team plays. I mean, what's interesting about Grizz? Obviously, you have the international flavor and you got a lot of success going, but what can people expect if they come out to watch you? What kind of style can they expect?
Yeah, we play indoors at some altitude compared to, if you watch a pro tennis tournament, it's usually a little slower at sea level and outdoors. And we play a pretty fast brand of tennis. We like to get guys into the net to finish points off quickly and hitting a lot of overheads and big serves. And it's not 2 guys standing 20 feet behind the baseline rolling it high over the net. It's a lot of quick finish tennis, and I think it's a great product. the people who've come out to watch have been astounded, not only at the level, but just like, wow, we didn't understand the energy of this sort of individual sport in a team format. So yeah, it makes for great viewing, and we haven't started charging for tickets yet. So come out to the Peak this weekend morning, and you'll be in great shape.
There's some free entertainment. 9:30 a.m. on Saturday, 10:30 a.m. on Sunday. Idaho State Saturday, Northern Arizona Sunday. The Peak Racket Club there out the Peak Fitness Center. Gustav, last thing for you then. What are your sort of hopes and goals for the rest of this regular season here, as you've already had a great freshman year, but how do you hope this finishes?
Well, I mean, the ultimate goal for both me and I think the rest of the team is to win the Big Sky Championship. That's like the ultimate goal, and that's what we're going for, to be honest.
Gotta love it. Thanks so much for being here, guys. This was awesome. Little Grizz tennis here on your ESPN Roundtable. We're going to dive back in. I have my 5 biggest NBA storylines of the year yesterday, but I want to compare notes with Rajim Seabrook. More Nuanez now here on ESPN Radio. Keep it right here, 102.9 FM, ESPN Missoula. Hey there, Colter Nuanez from Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Here with Tom. Window tinting is at an all-time high demand. So, Tom, how do people get a hold of you to get their car on the books at Aspen Sound?
Colter, well, at this time of year, we stay pretty busy with the window tints. So make sure just to give us a buzz, and we'll get you on the books. With the warm weather right around the corner, it's good to get in early rather than late.
Aspen Sound, located at 1300 West Broadway in Missoula.
Feel the music at Aspen Sound. Open your new Stockman Bank account anytime, anywhere with online account opening. Now, you can open an account in minutes on your laptop, tablet, or mobile phone. It's convenient, simple, and secure. Open your new account today at stockmanbank.com. Then, add our online and mobile banking services so you can manage your money when, where, and how you want. Stockman Bank, Montana's brand of banking. Member FDIC.
I'm all about keeping my family driving safe. Dad, pothole.
Got it.
So I insist we choose Les Schwab tires for safety services like brakes, steering, and alignment. Stuff those cheap tire centers don't offer. Because I want a backseat drive with confidence. Dad, speed check.
At the Les Schwab Spring Tire Sale, save up to $150 when you buy select tires with financing. Les Schwab Tires, celebrating 70 years of doing the right thing. Limited time offer. Terms and conditions apply. See leschwab.com/sale for details.
As the seasons change in Montana, it's critical to make sure your vehicle's in full working order. And that's why now is the time to take your rig to Crawford's Automotive. Crawford's Auto on West Broadway does any work you need on any vehicle you have. To make sure you're running soundly, take it to Crawford's Automotive. Get your brakes checked or replaced at Crawford's, and the job will be done right every time with Chase Crawford personally doing the work on your vehicle. Take your cars and trucks to someone you can trust. For all your automotive needs, it's Crawford's Automotive on West Broadway.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
The Silver Slipper is the place to watch all the basketball madness this month. Monday through Friday happy hour from 5 to 7 p.m. Half off drinks, $1 off beer, and $1 off wine. There will be daily drink and food specials, plus the Silver Slipper Bracket Challenge with prizes for first through third place and a daily drawing for a gift card. Must be present to win. The Silver Slipper has over 55 TVs, so you won't miss a game. Head on down to the Silver Slipper, across from Walmart on Highway 93 in Missoula. The Silver Slipper is the place to watch all the basketball madness this month.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
A trio of standout performances highlighted the Al Manuel Invitational in Missoula last weekend, getting collegiate outdoor track and field kicked off around the Treasure State. Hello, I am Colter Nuanez. At Dornblazer Field in Missoula, Grizz sophomore javelin thrower Evan Topp popped the throw of his life. He hucked the jab 229 feet 2 inches, breaking his personal best by more than 10 feet. Kalispell native's throw ranks first in the Big Sky Conference and 5th in the NCAA West Regional. The mark would have won last year's Big Sky Outdoor Championship, and he was just 3 feet from Jensen Lilquist's Montana program record. Last season, Todd finished 4th in the Big Sky, qualified for the NCAA Regionals during his rookie outdoor season with the Grizz. Todd earned Big Sky Conference Men's Field Athlete of the Week on Monday for his performance. The men's and women's track athletes of the week from the Big Sky went to a pair of Montana State standouts for their excellent afternoons at the Al Manual in Missoula as well. Elena Carter, a junior sprinter and hurdler, ran 13.66 seconds in the 100-meter hurdles, second fastest time at MSU ever. She also ran a personal best in the 200, ran a leg on the winning 4x100-meter relay team, and long jumped a personal best 19 feet, 6.25 inches. Schneider took home first place in the 200 and 400 meters respectively, running times of 21.31 seconds and 46.63 seconds, earned the weekly Big Sky Award for the second time in his career.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is brought to you by Selway Armory.
Get your mind right and get your grind right. We gotta keep going. Gotta keep going. Get your mind right and get your grind right. Get your mind right, get your grind right. Look into my eyes if you wanna know me. Before you hypnotize, homie, what do you see? A figure that's just a little bigger than dealers. A hustler counting figures, ain't pulled no triggers. Can you dig us? We be the ultimate lick. We's the hitters that make the ultimate hits. Kinda flossy, kinda bossy. It's got to be done my way. Do what the I say.
What up, Montana? Ice Cube for you here on your Wednesday. Hope you're grooving out, having a great week so far. Spring is here. It just feels so good. The sunshine is always a welcome return in western Montana and all the way around the state of Montana. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. You can always listen to the show online if you can't get to the radio or the TV. We are live on ESPN Radio and live on SWX Montana Television. You can always stream us, though, 1029ESPN.com. You can also hit us up on YouTube. And if you want to be a part of the show, you can always call or text 406-888-1029. That's 888-1029. Raheem Seabrook riding with me here on a Wednesday.
Yo.
What a fun and interesting interview with Jason Brown, the head coach of the University of Montana tennis team, and Gustav. He told me how to say it so many times. Me too, man.
Good luck. Good luck.
Thilgo, I think is what it was. Thilgo. It's spelled like Thielgaard, but very interesting just to get his perspective. He's from Denmark, and he's a freshman here at the University of Montana, but a two-time Big Sky Conference Player of the Week as a rookie already. But I think that's one, the point of college athletics to me has been always to diversify your campus culture first and foremost, because so often your athletes are going to be your driven kids, your leaders, and they don't go hand in hand. You can certainly have driven and leadership qualities in non-athletes as well. But I think that there's usually about 350 to 375 student athletes on a given campus. And I think that the more diverse that population can be, the more diverse it adds to the campus community being. And I think that's the whole point of college, is to diversify your exposure to people from all over the world. That's why I love covering the tennis teams, because they only got one guy from America. They got guys from Germany and Spain and New Zealand and Australia and Denmark and Ireland and all these different places. And I just think it's fun to have them in here. It's cool.
Hey, man, diversify that personal portfolio of the culture of life. I'm all about it.
You got to love it. I also love that your brother's listening to us on the show.
Man, you don't understand. I have a following of your following. So
I love it. I love it.
My friends and family listen whenever I'm on the show. So, like, if there was a way to kind of gauge, like, viewership, your numbers on Friday are going down, but your numbers on Wednesday are going to go up.
Let's go. Well, thanks to everybody out there that's listening, whether you're related to us or not. I know my mom's listening, too.
Mama knew.
Thanks for listening, Ma. Love every time you're listening. And I love that Regime's people are listening as well. So let's talk some NBA, because the NBA, there's about a week left here in the regular season. And there's some good storylines going on in the NBA. It's also a little bit atypical because it's been a little while since you had both the LA teams and the San Antonio Spurs and the Portland Trailblazers all be pretty much not good.
Yeah.
Which also has then catered to some really fun young teams like the Phoenix Suns and the Dallas Mavericks.
Totally.
And the Denver Nuggets, although they've been kind of up and down when Jokic has been in and out of the lineup. But when he's in, they're really good.
They're really good.
I mean, he might be the MVP. But it's been fun to see some of the new teams rise. Also, though, so first of all, we're going to go through just quickly the 5 storylines that I touted yesterday as some of the top storylines in the league. But we're gonna get through. I'm just gonna rip through the first 3, but then I want to discuss what I have as my number 2 out of the 5 storylines in the league right now, because I think you'll find this interesting. I think you'll have a good perspective on it as well. So my number 5 storyline in the NBA so far this year is how good the rookies have been. And we had a good discussion yesterday just about sort of how there's an elevated level of maturity in terms of guys being able to be professionals now, I think, right? It used to be the biggest worry for a guy that came in the league when he's 19 or 20 is how hard is he going to party? I think these guys have a pretty good understanding of what they have to lose.
I'm going to actually, for that statement alone, I'm going to thank the LeBron James of the world.
For sure. No question. I think LeBron James and Kobe Bryant both deserve a ton of credit.
I'm going to thank the Kobe Bryants of the world.
Yep.
I'm going to thank the Steph Currys of the world.
Yep. It's a really good point, man.
I'm going to thank those, the Giannis's of the world.
For sure.
For maturing basketball. Maturing athletics overall.
For sure.
We went from the Wiley party, blow all your money, Scottie Pippen generation.
Champagne in the campaign.
Oh,
like
champagne in the campaign, baby. You know what's up?
Like Jalen Rose always says.
But Jay-Z said it best. He goes, I'm a businessman and I'm a businessman. That's what's happening. These young people in the league are understanding that they are walking entities. They are walking money makers. They are walking organizations.
For sure.
And they have gotten their poop in a group.
Yeah.
FCC, that was really clean. No need to wipe after that. And there's a maturity level because the more mature, the more compensation comes from that. The more you represent yourself in a certain way, the more you will be financially compensated. And I think the business acumen of this young generation of athletes is very prominent.
They also have such a great acumen when it comes to health, too, right?
Well, I mean,
Tom Brady set a standard in that as well, but like LeBron James is leading the way in that, too.
Yeah.
It used to be in the NBA so often, guys would just play hard, live hard.
Totally.
And then it was too late before they started taking care of themselves. And so that's why you saw guys like Sean Kemp just fall off the planet.
That's a great, wow.
Right?
Cedric Ceballos.
Right. I mean, the dudes would be like elite one day and then just like fat the next day. You're like, what happened?
What happened?
And then it's not coming back.
Zion.
Yeah, no question.
But there's that acumen, that new type of, and I'm going to say social media plays a role.
For sure.
Some of these guys are out there, they are basketball players by day, but they're activists or organizers or aspiring political, whatever.
For sure.
And they're showing a different type of athlete for this generation. And then the other point is there's a youth movement about to happen in the NBA.
Yep.
The old guard, it's about to change. The LeBrons of the world,
sure.
like those cats of that generation are about to leave the league, sadly. But this next generation, and these cats are ready physically, socially, mentally, fiscally.
My number 4 storyline was LeBron about to win the scoring title in year 19. I just think it's so unbelievable because the Lakers are having one of the worst seasons in their franchise's history, but LeBron's still going to make sure to get himself just a little feather in the cap.
Of course.
Give himself a little recruiting tool for the next offseason. My number 3 storyline was the fact that the Minnesota Timberwolves are relevant, finally. For the first time in the post-KG era. That, when they got rid of Kevin Garnett, they've just been swimming upstream ever since. But now Karl Anthony Towns is finally coming into his own. Anthony Edwards looks like as advertised number 1 pick. And the T-Wolves are, I think, 11 games over 500 after last night, and they're probably going to make the playoffs. So I think that's a good one. But then we pause on my number 2 out of my 5 best storylines. It's been a minute because when Shaquille O'Neal was traded from the Orlando Magic to the Los Angeles Lakers and Tim Duncan was drafted by the San Antonio Spurs, that set forth what has been basically 20-plus years of the West being significantly better than the East. You had Miami have their run with LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, certainly. But mostly, though, it's been...
Yeah, Boston.
Boston had their one championship.
Peppering with Boston.
But, I mean, it's been San Antonio 5 times over. The Lakers 5 times over. The Golden State Warriors 5 times over. That's 15 of the last 23 championships right there.
Fair enough.
But also this like sort of the depth of the conferences. The East has usually had like 2 or 3 really good teams, and the West has had like 8 good teams. Now it's sort of flipped on its head because like I think the T-Wolves and the Mavs and the Nuggets and all those teams, they're pretty okay.
Yeah.
But they're not nearly as good as the Heat or the Bucks or the 76ers or the Celtics. I mean, I think the 4 teams I just named right there at the top of the East are 4 of probably the 6 best contenders for the title, right?
Correct.
And so you're an East Coast guy.
You know what's up?
It's sort of a flash from the past. It's sort of a return to what it was, because the East was the dominant for sure.
Oh,
it was the Lakers versus the East, basically, from
all the time.
80s and 90s.
All the time. Yeah, it's nice to kind of see the pendulum swing back to the East. It has been, I would say, the better part of almost 2 decades, and I agree with all of your assessments and observations. That's sports, though. Like, that's going to happen. When I look at the East Coast teams and where some of the big stars are going, there's a lot more money and a more concentrated populous market. For sure. So if you get traded to a Philly, you're being seen in Boston. You're being seen in New York. So you're being even reaches like Cleveland. So there's more of a far-reaching scope for some of these athletes to immerse themselves in.
Well, and part of the fall of the East, too, is there's a couple of different factors. One, the Philadelphia 76ers intentionally being bad for so long, and now they finally aren't bad. They have one of the great players in the league in Joel Embiid.
True.
The Washington Wizards just being a joke for 20 years, and they're still a joke.
They're still a joke.
Part of that's just the bad luck when you sign John Wall to one of the richest contracts in history, and dude just like hurts himself, then re-hurts himself, then falls on the floor and tears his Achilles after he already hurt himself. It's like the worst of the worst luck that you could possibly have. That will set your franchise back. But they've also had poor management. They've had poor drafts, all that. But more than anything, though, the two revitalizing factors in the East have been, one, the addition of the Brooklyn Nets, from the New Jersey Nets becoming the Brooklyn Nets, and now that being a real pull for high-level stars like Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant.
Yes, sir.
And the other thing is, though, the reason the East took such a fall, and now that is at least part of the way it's been a little bit more deep and a little bit more balanced this year, is the New York Knicks aren't the laughingstock of the NBA anymore.
No, New York,
they're at least fine.
The Knicks,
but the East needs the Knicks to at least be fine for the East to be good.
I was going to say that, just like the NFL needs Dallas and Green Bay and San Francisco to always be good and relevant. I hear what you're saying. I love you, man. I just want to kiss your brain.
Yeah, the New York Knicks they're still working on it. They are out of the playoffs this year, probably. They're sitting there like 3.5 games out of the 10th spots. They could maybe get hot and play their way into a play-in game. But I do think that, right now, the Nets are sitting in 8th, but I still think you could say that they have an outside shot of being a title contender just because they do have several of the greatest players in the world, and now that Kyrie Irving's whole song and dance, which we're not going to get into, is over.
We don't have enough show for that, son.
But the reemergence of the Cleveland Cavaliers, I think that, Evan Mobley, we're talking about the young guys in the league. Evan Mobley's been very, very good.
Yes.
The Cavs are playing an original style of basketball. Toronto staying solid even after Kawhi Leonard left helps. And the other franchise that the East needs to be good, for the East to be good, is the Bulls.
Oh, really? I was going to say Boston.
Well, and Boston is good. Boston just has been, but Boston's always been so well run, so it's been very rare that they're ever just like terrible.
True. No.
But the Bulls, like, who would have ever thought, like circa 1999, though, that the Bulls would be like one of the worst teams in the league, and they definitely rode that train, a couple different versions of it, over the last 20 years.
Yeah, the Bulls are almost an enigma to me after post-Jordan era. Like, much like the Lakers, much like the Celtics, you expect them to be something because of what has been established.
Right.
And to me, the Bulls are also that sway team for where they are geographically to kind of counterbalance the East meets the West. Detroit Pistons were like that late 80s, early 90s. Yep. Just that non-coastal team that kind of was the glue that binded the league together and created great polarization and some parallels, if you will, between the coast.
I also think that one of the most interesting parts of the NBA is like the societal and cultural factors that go into where players in free agency choose to go. In the NFL, we've still seen like the Steel Belt, the Rust Belt, and the Steel Belt towns like Pittsburgh and Cleveland. Cleveland's not a good example, but NFL guys aren't like horrified about the prospect of signing with the Cincinnati Bengals or the Pittsburgh Steelers
or Green Bay.
Right. Like, they can still get players. Whereas like we've seen sort of this mass exodus from those traditional blue collar towns. Like nobody wants to go move to Detroit. No NBA players man, I want to go play for the Pistons. And that's been sort of the demise of their franchise.
Totally. And I there's a couple of different I liken that to the Jacksonville Jaguars and NFL.
For sure.
That's a NASCAR city.
Right.
That's not a football town.
I mean, think about the Pacers too, right? Like the Pacers, that's why I think Reggie Miller is one of the most underrated players in the history of the NBA. Because Reggie Miller, I know he's so inflammatory and he's so annoying.
He's so annoying.
But Reggie Miller could have for sure just left the Indiana Pacers high and dry, and instead he wanted to be the dude in Indiana. And that helped buoy their franchise to great success for a really long time.
That's true. He was a big fish in a small pond and never floundered the entirety of his career there.
You know you're talking to a New York Knicks guy when you're talking about Reggie Miller.
I hate that dude.
Have you seen the Reggie Miller 30 for 30?
Dude.
That's probably just the worst thing to watch ever if you're a Knicks fan.
It hurts so much. PTSD from I was in high school and all that. Oh.
I've seen all of the 30 for 30s, all of the ESPN films, documentaries. And it's definitely not the most profound or poignant line in any of those, but the best line in any of them, the one that makes me laugh the hardest, and I still drop it at pickup games all the time, is when John Starks is talking about when Reggie Miller just diced him. He goes, did this dude just do that?
Did this dude just do that? I love John Starks.
John Starks, man.
He just did do that. I loved him.
It's so crazy. I don't know this element. I actually don't know if this element I'm about to address exists in sports nearly as much as it used to either, though. It used to be like guys could be riding really high. And like John Starks he's like an all-NBA guy for a couple of years. Like he was a very good player.
Dude, at one time he was like the third best. He was like right behind Jordan in a lot of categories.
For sure. But it's just so crazy how there was these moments where the true killers of like the 80s and 90s, they just cut your heart out. And you were never the same. John Starks was literally never the same after that moment in which Reggie Miller scored, 9 points in 34 seconds?
Stop. I need a Prozac milkshake. Stop. It hurts.
You got to love it. Well, it is good for the NBA that there's young teams rising, particularly in the West, and it's very good for the NBA that some of the stalwart powers of the East are back in it. What's going on the rest of the week? We'll let you know. Keep it right here. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio.
Have you ever worried if you're up to snuff in the bedroom? Are you looking to skip the waiting lines and the admission at the pharmacy? Do you want effective male enhancement delivered right to your door? Palmer's Drug of Missoula has you covered. All you need is a prescription from a doctor and a home address for Palmer's Drug to ship to. If you want to improve your love life and get right in the bedroom, all while keeping it discreet, look into home delivery through Palmer's Drug. Palmer's Drug, your trusted local pharmacy in Missoula.
Whether you're in the restaurant business or you just want to host any big event, J&V Restaurant Supply can make sure you have everything you need. J&V Restaurant Supply is your home for everything kitchen. Whether you're a bear or a bobcat, an eagle or a Scotty, J&V Restaurant has everything you might need. They have locations in Bozeman, Billings, and Great Falls. If you can't make it in, J&V also has a great website, jvrestaurant.com. Get everything you need for your next event at J&V, your restaurant specialists.
Here at Florence Coffee Co., we are proud to serve the finest flavors under the big sky, like our smooth and delectable cold brewed toddy coffee. Florence Coffee's fresh brewed toddy coffee is known for its low acidity and smooth flavor. Served over ice, add your favorite flavor or an iced coffee like no other. Try one today at any of our Flowco locations around Western Montana and visit us at florencecoffeeco.com.
Florence Coffee Company.
Paul Ryan is a name that's been synonymous with law around the Garden City for decades. And Paul is excited to announce the expansion of his firm to Ryan, Holloway, and Miller. Paul Ryan, Nate Holloway, and Angie Miller have a fierce love for their community, and they want to help you with any of your legal needs. From auto accidents to medical malpractice to wrongful death or any criminal defense, Ryan, Holloway, and Miller should be your first call. When it comes to personal injury or criminal defense, call Ryan, Holloway, and Miller today. Ryan, Holloway, and Miller, your Montana attorneys. Part of the glory of building a business comes from leaving a legacy to ensure your business continues thriving into the future. Have you asked yourself lately, what is your plan? Forming a personalized business succession plan is essential to know the passion you put into your business will carry on. Nick Tabor at Westpac Wealth is here to help you navigate all your business succession and retirement planning needs. Give Nick a call at 728-6699 and keep the spirit of possibility vibrant while making your future more tax efficient with a personalized business succession and retirement plan for you.
It's time to gear up for spring sports and adventure at Bob Ward's. Save now on new gear for soccer, baseball, softball, tennis, and more. Hit the links with new golf apparel, clubs, bags, and more. Everything you need for any spring sports is in stock now, with more arriving daily at Bob Ward's. Grab the latest styles from top brands in the athletic department. Get technology and style in the newest footwear from Brooks, Hoka, Under Armour, and all your favorite brands. Even our camping and water sports department are stocked with new gear. Gear up at Bob Ward's. Sports and outdoors, Montana style.
This is Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Radio Missoula.
Back through that maze I sent ya. Talking to the rap inventor. The game type fifth, that flame right. Spell my name right. B-I-double-G-I-E. Iced out, lights out, me and Caesar Leo. Getting for some chick he know. See, it's all about the cheddar. Nobody do it better. Going back to Cali, strictly for the weather. Women and the sticky green. No seats, please. Papa ain't soft. Dead up in the hood. Ain't no love lost.
What up, Montana? Welcome back. Last week, we did all East Coast rap. We had a great conversation. Actually, I thought it was one of the best conversations we've had on this show. Rajim Seabrook, my main guy who's riding with me today. He was here last week, and we talked just all about like the ins and outs of life on the East Coast, and we talked a lot about hip-hop, its origin points, so the best albums in hip-hop history, and we played all East Coast rap last week. So now I'm playing all West Coast, except for bringing it home with a East Coast rappers song about the West Coast. So I did it just for you. I curated it just for you.
I love you, man.
I kind of love it. On us now, ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Missed anything in the show? We've touched on a ton today. You can always find it on the Nuanez Now podcast, probably presented by Sportsbet Montana, as well as The Advocates. And we talked some Grizz hoops. Robbie Beasley, sophomore guard for the University of Montana men's basketball team, former now guard for UM men's basketball. He's in the transfer portal. We also heard from Chad Germer, University of Montana offensive line coach. We talked some history lessons with Billy Hoppy, one of the great billiards players of all time. Fun to listen and learn about him, and also fun to get some insight and some knowledge that Rajim's people on the other side of the country are listening. That's pretty cool. And we also heard what a fun interview. What a great interview. Jason Brown, the head coach of the Grizz tennis team, as well as Gustav Thilga.
That's a tall drink of water.
He's a tall drink of water. They have deemed him on Grizz tennis social media as the Ivan Drago of the Big Sky Conference.
I totally thought he looked like a young Ivan Drago. I must break you.
His haircut was like Dolph Lundgren. He does. He does.
I wonder if he's smart as Dolph Lundgren. Do you know he has a double degree in chemical engineering?
I believe that. Yeah. Gustav, he just did a whole 15-minute radio interview in a second language, so I think he's really smart. That's the thing. That's the other part about the campus culture discussion.
Yes.
That the tennis team has had the number one GPA among any sports teams at University of Montana for like years. So they're always great students, which is always a welcome boost to the athletic department. But anyways, we also talk some NBA. You can always find it on the Nuanez Now podcast, proudly presented by the Advocates and Sportsbet Montana. Just a couple of minutes left here, but I wanted to ask you this. We've been talking a lot of college basketball, obviously, because the Final Four is on the horizon. And I've been dwelling on this thought about the legacy of coaches and coaches that become institutions and icons, because Mike Krzyzewski is certainly that at Duke. He's been there for 42 years, 13 Final Fours. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's some guys that are sort of the next generation of guys that are those icons. Like Jay Wright at Villanova, I think he's going to be there for the long haul. Bill Self at Kansas, same deal. Anywhere. And, Tom Izzo is probably getting down to it.
My guys.
For sure.
Sparty.
Probably closing in on it for Michigan State. But then it got me thinking about just college basketball in general, because I think this time of year college basketball is as popular as it's ever been. But I think it's nowhere close to as popular as it once was from a regular season perspective. No. It used to be like Big Monday, must-see TV. Super Tuesday with the Big East teams.
I was going to say Big East Saturdays, too. That was
for
awesome.
Sure, man. It was like must-see TV. So I want to ask you.
Yeah, man.
What are some of your favorite college basketball players of all time? We only got about a minute left, but who are some of your favorite college basketball guys, especially growing up where you grew up?
Honestly, growing up, my uncle was one of the janitors or custodial engineers at St. John's, so I grew up watching
super cool.
Chris Mullen,
For sure.
Mark Jackson, Malik Sealy.
I mean, that's a great era of St. John's basketball.
Buddy, I mean, it was just Big East, period.
Was that when Louis was there? Coach Louis
Carnesecca.
Let's
go LC, triple LOC. Let's go.
What an awesome dude he is.
It was
what
good.
A character.
I got to watch that, and going back to the Big East Saturdays, I would go with my dad and my brothers to the Garden. We paid $20 a piece, and we'd watch 3 games. We'd sit there: Seton Hall versus Villanova, St. John's versus Syracuse, Georgetown versus the World, and we got to watch Alonzo Mourning, Allen Iverson, Patrick Ewing, Dikembe Mutombo, like some of the greats of the greats of the greats growing up. So, yeah, man, growing up with Big East basketball was friggin' amazing.
Awesome. Some of the best times in college basketball history. We'll be back at it tomorrow, 4 p.m. Nuanez Now. We'll see you then. Thanks so much for listening. For Regime Seabrook, Coulter Nuanez, we're out.
Peace.
Like most Montanans, we love a good steak. And because we're the Montana Club, we take the steaks we serve very seriously. We're confident to say that our custom grilled steaks are as good a steak as you're going to get. Now we're proud to add regularly sourced, naturally raised Castle Rock bison ribeye to our selection. And remember, the Montana Club steak entrees include the sides. Come into the Montana Club today for an unrivaled steak experience. The Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
Hey there, Coulter Nuanez from Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Here with Tom. Window tinting is at an all-time high demand. So, Tom, how do people get a hold of you to get their car on the books at Aspen Sound?
Coulter, well, at this time of year, we stay pretty busy with the window tints. So make sure just to give us a buzz, and we'll get you on the books. With the warm weather right around the corner, it's good to get in early rather than late.
Aspen Sound, located at 1300 West Broadway in Missoula.
Feel the music at Aspen Sound.
Katie O'Keefe's Bar and Casino is one of the best places to watch sports in all of the Garden City. Located at 2100 Stevens in the Stevens Center, this friendly neighborhood hideaway is a fantastic place to watch the NCAA tournaments with your friends and family. And Katie's is also a proud sponsor of the Nuanez Now Bracket Challenge, offering more than $2,500 in prizes for whomever can fill out that perfect bracket. All March long, come watch the March Madness at Katie O'Keefe's, where the drinks are cold and the people are friendly.
I'm all about keeping my family driving safe. Dad, pothole.
Got it.
So I insist we choose Les Schwab tires for safety services like brakes, steering, and alignment. Stuff those cheap tire centers don't offer. Because I want a backseat drive with confidence. Dad, speed check.
At the Les Schwab Spring Tire Sale, save up to $150 when you buy select tires with financing. Les Schwab Tires, celebrating 70 years of doing the right thing. Limited time offer. Terms and conditions apply. See leschwab.com/sale for details.
Jake Dubeck knows people, and because of his gift of getting to know anyone he crosses paths with, Jake Dubeck understands what makes Montana so great. The Montanans. Whether you're looking to buy or sell real estate in the Helena area, Jake Dubeck should be your first call. Any questions you might have, from the accelerating Montana real estate market to knowledge of the neighborhoods in and around the capital city, if you're in the Helena area, call Jake Dubeck at 406-465-5506. Jake, proud supporter of the Montana State Minute with Danny Sprinkle.
Ready to step up your hair game, but just not quite sure where to go? Well, look no further than Compass Barbershop, a modern barbershop for everyone, where they can help you find a style that's right for you. They offer precision scissor cuts and fades in a unique and inclusive atmosphere. Compass Barbershop has it all, including convenient online booking at compassbarber.com, or you can just stop by any day of the week. You can also check out Compass Barbershop on Facebook or Instagram. Find your way to Compass Barbershop, downtown on the Hip Strip, at the corner of modern and retro.
Dreaming of summer fun? Stop dreaming. Visit any Farmer State Bank location to speak with a consumer lender about making your summer dreams come true. Farmer State Bank offers a full range of consumer loans for vehicles, boats, campers, and more. Rates are competitive and there's never an application fee. You can even apply online at farmersebank.com. Bring on summer fun. Farmer State Bank, your Montana bank since 1907. An equal housing lender and member FDIC.
Now, the Montana Club's happy hour features BOGO beverages. Our expertly mixed cocktails, microbrews, domestics, and wine are buy one, get one free 7 days a week from 3 to 5:30. Stop in on Friday for Montini night. Sip on a top shelf martini for only $6, 5:30 to close. When you've worked hard all day and are ready to relax, the Montana Club has got you covered with BOGO happy hour 7 days a week, 3 to 5:30 on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula.
I'm Doug Brown with breaking news. ESPN's Jeff Borzello reports Shaheen Holloway will get a 6-year contract to be the new head coach at Seton Hall, his alma mater. Holloway turned this year's NCAA tournament on its ear by taking the St. Peter's Peacocks to the Elite Eight. LeBron James is out and Anthony Davis doubtful for tomorrow night's Lakers game against the Jazz. James still has a sprained left ankle and Davis has a sprained right foot. Will the Lakers keep Davis? ESPN's Kendrick Perkins.
Anthony Davis, when he's healthy, is still a top 5 talent in this league. We always want to talk about, okay, can we trade him or should we trade him? What are you going to get back? I'm not trading AD unless I get a Giannis back or an Embiid back. Like, although he's not in that conversation, I'll tell you one thing. If I was the Lakers, but Minnesota ain't going to do it, I'd trade AD right now for Karl Anthony Towns if I had the opportunity to do it.
Kendrick Perkins on the Swagoo and Perk podcast. Cavaliers rookie forward Evan Mobley will miss at least the next 3 games with a sprained left ankle. He got hurt Monday night against the Magic. Notre Dame freshman Blake Wesley will enter the NBA draft. Wesley averaged 14 points and 4 rebounds a game, getting named second-team All-ACC and to the league's All-Rookie team. Saints safety Malcolm Jenkins announces his retirement today. He played for Super Bowl champs with the Saints and Eagles.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max.
Giannis actually outplayed Embiid and